Hello, hello. Day three. We made it. Look at these warriors coming in. I told you guys at the beginning there was only going to be some that did the whole thing, right? It's always like that. And yeah, props to you guys for showing up and going through to the end. And I have some of the best stuff I saved for last. But I also feel like this whole thing has been really fun. I've been enjoying being here with you guys. I was checking out the wins in the school community. It was really cool to see, Connie, your Instagram transformation. Like pretty amazing to just see that visual shift. Connie posted it and it's incredible. Like just those little tweaks. And I even noticed, some of the verbiage, the words that you used weren't that different, but it's just there was just a refinement that your profile showed, and there were 40 new followers on it. Like, so celebrating that, that's amazing. Um, all right, so let's dive in. Who is excited for day three? Go ahead and put a one in the chat. Let's go. Day three, we're kicking it off. And I want to just, as we dive into day three, I want to do a little recap to just review everything that we've done so far. I know that these were jam-packed, and today's training is going to be a little bit shorter because I want to spend a little bit of time having some Q&A at the end. So if you're here live, that's going to be a fun jam that we get to do. Okay, so day three. So let's recap everything that happened. And today it's really all about just leveraging the spotlight. So we've been putting you guys in the spotlight more, making sure that algorithm and everything is good on your end to help make you more visible. And today we want to leverage that spotlight. So this is really my favorite part of the conversation because I do believe that it isn't necessarily about numbers in terms of how many people you have on your social media or your profiles, or even when we're talking about podcasts, it's not about how many listeners there are. It really isn't. And so one myth that I like to kind of bust right out of the gates is when we're looking at podcast numbers, and this goes for social media as well, we don't look at download numbers, but we look at revenue per listener. And so you can think the same thing for social media. It's revenue per follower. You could have a ton of fake bots on your social media, and that's not really going to do too much. But if you have the right key people on it, you can have a much lower number, and actually have a much healthier business and relationship game going on. So, let's chat about what happened in these last 2 days. Um, Day one was all about we talked about the mindset shift around value, time, and money, which I know is just a huge, like a foundational thing that us as entrepreneurs we have to constantly be on top of it because otherwise we get sucked into what the world says about value, time, and money. So we got to take that time to just recommit and say this is what I'm saying about those things. This is how I'm showing up to those relationships. So we went through those, and then we also did a analysis of social media profiles around keywords, the visual representation, and any algorithmic alignment that we could do on those profiles. So that was all in day one. Then we went into day two and we started off with that mirror check, really that personal check around how do I feel about becoming more visible? Because I shared that story with you guys around, some of our clients that come in and they have these huge thriving businesses and they still are coming up against this resistance around a next level in their visibility. And that was the thing that stopped them. It wasn't money, it wasn't time, it wasn't having the right resources, knowing the right strategy. It actually was a mindset shift. So I shared that story with you guys and gave you that time to just do a little assessment check, like, how do I feel about where I'm at right now? And connected to the vision and also connected to my cost of inaction if I don't become more visible. And so we got into that clear state so that way we could actually see how to 10x the volume of content that you're creating and putting out. So we did that by leveraging AI and leveraging all the different kinds of posts that connect to different types of people, right? Because we're not all visual. We don't all like the same thing. So it's really great to be able to use AI to take one core piece of content and turn it into a bunch of different types of content, but not just like a bunch of posts that are all sort of similar, but we broke it into all the different types of things that you can do. And that's one reason, to just to be honest, that's why we love podcasting. Before I was even in just like the podcast space, I was doing business coaching and marketing and consulting, and I would talk about these things. And eventually I just kind of landed on like, I guess I'm a podcast girl because this is what I just keep telling all my clients. And then I ended up shifting into the podcast space because it made sense, because it means that someone's sitting down, you're recording a long form content. And so it's going to be anywhere, when I even say long form, that it's like 5 minutes plus, right? Most podcast episodes are around 20 to 30 minutes. Um, but they could be as short as 5 minutes, even just something that's not short form that, is clickbait. But if you record that longer form content, you have so much that you can do with that. And usually that's when we get into a really good flow as speakers, as creators, as founders. You kind of need that ramp up time. It takes a bit to get to the hook point and all of that stuff. That comes with, speaker training and all that. We do that for our clients. We teach them how to like come out of the gate with a strong hook and all of that. But like, let's be real, that's not how we usually talk. We usually talk by saying like, "Hi, how are you?" We go through some casualties and then we get to the meat. And so when you have that longer form content, if you're not trained as a speaker, it actually is a way to allow yourself to have a little breathing room so you can be really authentically you. And then you just edit, you clip that part that was the meaty section, that was the hook, and then you can repurpose that into a bunch of different things. Okay, I went a little bit beyond what we talked about yesterday, but I wanted to give a little bit more there. But that was day two. So wow, okay, in 2 days we've already done quite a bit. If any of you guys are jumping in here or watching this replay and you maybe skipped ahead, go check out on the school community, because we also have resources for each of these days. And it breaks down even more information. It breaks down exact steps that you can be doing. Again, this is a 10x your visibility challenge. And this is proven. Like, we've done this with other people before. And so if you actually take the time to do this, it's going to flush out and it's going to be successful. So we gave you all the resources to be able to do that. One other thing I'd love to do here is, if you are here live, go ahead and drop your Instagram into the chat. Let's connect to the people that are here live. If you're watching the replay, sorry. The best way to do this, also, if you are in any other groups and they say drop your Instagram live, I have a pet peeve about people just doing their, okay, sorry, Jill, I'm going to get on you here. I have a pet peeve about doing this because, Jill, I can't click on that. And it's going to be kind of hard. So I know you're like, huh? This is just a me thing, and maybe you'll get me after I show you. But I always love to just put my full Instagram. And what I found, what it does is it helps people just click on it and follow. Sometimes we got to make things easy for other people. Um, yeah, Anna just did it exactly. So I like to just put in the whole little link. That just is coming from being in so many of these rooms, and in here, it's not a huge room. Like, we could do this, but say you were in a big room and you did actually want to connect with a lot of people, just doing that is a little hack to help others out. Okay, so let's let's dive in. I want to hear some wins from these last few days. Short, does anyone have a short win that they want to just share before we get into the training, or a win, or your biggest takeaway so far? Come off mute. All right, you guys, I literally hear crickets outside, and I don't know if you guys can hear them, but
I'll give you one. All right,
let's
so
go.
I wasn't able to make it yesterday, but one of the things that I was super like proud of was the fact that for the first time, and I don't even know how long, I actually went in and scheduled out a couple of weeks full of um, content. So for a full 2 weeks, I have
Nice.
all of my content actually booked out. So it's a big win for me personally.
That is huge. And isn't that such a relief?
Yeah,
Like,
it's like it's actually done, and I have stuff going out where normally I would be like either not posting regularly or sporadically doing it as I got time. So yeah, I was just
so
like
good.
inspired to go in and actually do like get it batched out basically. You know.
So good. So good. So, how are we going to keep that moving forward? Do you have something in place or an idea to make sure that this kind of just becomes a new norm?
Yeah, I need to figure that out. Um, yeah, definitely need to figure out
Cool.
like a better system for it ongoing. I was, it's like the first one every time. You know what I mean? So I got the
Hmm.
pulled the trigger for the first step. Now I just gotta get in there and get it figured out for regular, like what the actual process is going to be for that,
Hmm.
so
Are you open to hearing a suggestion?
yeah, for sure.
So one thing that I see because batching content, like especially, we're doing podcasts, things like that, that's like even longer form. It takes longer to get it done. But what I've seen is usually if someone has a first win in batching, they're like, sweet, okay, I'm gonna check in on this once those posts are done. And then it's 2 weeks in, and then usually then it's like, okay, this isn't quite a habit yet. So then maybe a week goes by, and then you're like, oh, I'm kind of already not winning at this. Like, all right, this isn't going to stick. And then you just let it go. So I always love to just see how you can continue to get ahead of things. So what if now you just set a standard, and I could hear it in your voice, like this like relaxed nature, which is good because you need to be relaxed in your business to be able to have fun and just do the things that you actually also need to do. So, what if 2 weeks is just now the standard? And so next week you batch out the next week. So that way you're always still going to just stay ahead of things. Or even better yet, what we always suggest for podcasts, again, social media is a little bit different because I feel like people do want what's recent and like what's actually happening now. But the way that I like to play with that is I make the stories where I'm doing like, this is what's happening today or yesterday. Like the stories is what's happening now. The posts are sometimes actually from a few weeks prior because they are batched out. So when it comes to podcasting, we always get our clients on a cadence of getting a month ahead of things. And there's just such a relaxed nature that they get into, just knowing that I can go on vacation, something can happen, and like I might, something big could happen and I'll still have recovery time and like still nothing is going to be missed. So, play around with what that sweet spot is for each of you, but if you can get ahead of things and then just keep that as your consistent cadence, there's going to be such a weight off your shoulders and you'll start to notice that you'll get new ideas and there's an openness so you can get into that creative zone instead of feeling the pressure to just create to put things out there. And so that's where that shift happens. And Andrew, I don't know if you were here on the call where I talked about switching from being a creator to documenter. So Andrew talks about this, our coach, our Andrew, Andrew number two.
Yeah.
And what I like to add on to that is going from a creator into a documenter and distributor. So that's what I hear you stepping into. It's like, okay, you get to document your life, but then you also have this extra role of being a distributor. And if you're a distributor, you're gonna get things on a schedule, and get ahead of them. So that's kind of a fun identity that you can try on.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, let's do one more win or biggest value that you've gotten out of this so far.
I'll go. I feel just the AI stuff that you taught us, the prompts are huge. I mean, I'm not scared to use it, but I never know what to really to say or ask. And the prompts that you gave us were great.
Awesome.
Yeah, that value was amazing.
Good, good. I'm glad you like that. And I know for, when I first started playing around with AI, Sammy was already way ahead of me and he had been talking about all this stuff. And I was like, I already feel behind. And so it took me a while to like get into it. And it was just little prompts that got me excited because I would try them on. I'm like, this is cool. Okay. But I don't want to go deeper. But it gave me kind of that open door to just start playing around. And now it's cool because we are full on like consulting people just on AI, consulting businesses. And what we like to teach them is how to prompt. And the biggest myth that we bust is that there's a perfect way to prompt. And the best way to prompt is actually when you're just in conversation and you're just being you, because then you're actually developing a real, not real human to human, but a real relationship, you to AI, and AI is actually starting to get you, your tone, and how you say things. I think we kind of like put on this thing that everything has to be perfect, but it really doesn't. It's just a conversation, and it's just like if you were to sit down with someone else, like you're not going to never say like, even though I try to get this, it still slips out, right? And we're all just human. And so, Jill, I'm excited that you are liking those prompts and keep playing around with prompts, and maybe even try to just play around with speaking to it when it comes to prompting or getting answers out of AI. I
Perfect.
just like to myth bust, especially when I'm giving you guys prompts, because I'm like, this is also kind of against what I usually teach and consult. If I'm consulting someone, I'm like, I'm not giving you a prompt. You gotta just create it. So
It is
awesome,
like having a
awesome.
conversation. I mean, I like it. I call mine Smarty Pants or Genius or
Yeah.
something like that. They're
Totally.
so fun.
I love it. Awesome. All right, so let's go into, we're just going to do a mini training today, and then we'll spend a little bit of time for Q&A. So the mini training is just really around 3 steps to sustainable AI enhanced visibility online. So number one is going to be capture the spotlight. Number two is nurture with consistency. And number three is convert with intention. So let's break those down. So number one, capture the spotlight. We've already had you guys shift into, recreating your profiles, starting to work on the content, creating more content. And one thing I like to look at is like every single new view or like or follower is actually a seed. And a seed is a seed. It could be tossed into the wind and nothing can happen to it, or you can plant it in fertile soil and actually have it grow into something. I think again, there's another myth around, just like needing huge volume. I think it's actually more about taking time with those seeds, those individual seeds that you have. Um, one example of this is one of our clients who we're doing their podcast. They were not getting a ton of podcast downloads. And so he was kind of disappointed. And, he had just started out, but he was like, I thought there were going to be more people listening to this. And, he's like looking at his social media. He's like, I don't know. He's like, there's just this one post though that like did really well. It got like the post itself, it got like 4,000 likes and like 100 comments. And he was like, that was cool. And we're like, okay, well, what did you do with that? And he goes, what do you mean? I was like, stoked, but like, look at everything else. It's not working. We're like, hello, that is 100 people that have like said, like, yes, I like this. I want more. And a lot of people, it was like one of those things where there were hundreds of shares on it and like saves. And we were like, you got to do something with that. You can't just like sit back, and imagine that every single person's now going to come knocking at your door. You got to take that next step and engage and like, at the least comment back, but even follow up and go beyond. And so when you have a new like, view, or follower, what can you do to continue and pursue that? I know for so long I would get new followers and I wouldn't do anything. And I'm like, oh yay, like, oh win. But it's like that doesn't do anything to like feel a little ego boost. No, it's actually about what am I gonna do with that person? Um, and I'll talk about ways to engage and connect there. But just something to think about. Make sure that on your profile, on your bio, or a post or a story, that there are clear call to actions. So not only is that an opportunity for you to reach out, but you want to also just make sure that that's clear, that they can reach out to you. So I think from the bios that I saw last time, and I know we kind of tweaked them, I know you guys worked on the clear call to action. So I just wanted to kind of reiterate that. You can always ask ChatGPT. I do have a fun prompt for this, but it is write 5 short, high converting calls to actions that invite my audience to take the next step towards insert the goal and then make them warm and authentic. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the chat for you guys. And that's just to come up with some new ways. Sometimes we also need to test things out. But you don't want to get into a cycle where you have, I would say, more than like 15 freebies. And I say that might sound a lot to some of you or a little to others, but there's a certain time where you want to kind of be playing around with like 10 freebies, maybe even less, and you can just kind of rotate the name out or rotate some of the content, but you should really have your core pieces that you know these are freebies that work. So if you're still in that cycle of, you know, maybe your freebies not necessarily converting or bringing a lot of people in, then try out this prompt to just play around with it and see if there's another creative thing that your ideal client is looking for, a quick win that they're looking to get from you, and then you can guide them to the next thing. One thing I like to always do in these call to actions, if they're receiving like a document or something like that, we started and adding at the very bottom, hey, like if you want to implement this document, book a session. And it's a paid session. I think when we started doing this, it was like book a 197 call so we can help you implement this. So it's not like a full, you know, strategy session where we're doing everything with that client. It's one session to have them implement that freebie, that that document or that thing. And that worked really well for us. So that's kind of a fun way to continue to get people to move into your world. And then of course people are more likely to buy from you when they've already bought from you. So it's a great way to then, you know, upsell them into something from there. And Andrew, I want to read this. It's super important that you also make sure the freebie is in alignment with the thing that you're selling to. Yes, that is big. And you can even reverse engineer it. Sometimes that's a great way to make sure that it is in alignment, or do like those steps. So for instance, if you have that freebie, can you do a step where there's something that they pay for to connect with you, and then after that, what would be that next step? Ideally it should be, you know, your offer. So really good to make sure that that is in alignment and that you're not just doing something because you're like, this will be valuable, because otherwise you could do that, but it's definitely not going to create that funnel experience that you want or that they want. um, so test out some different call to action formats as well. It might be a document. It could also be audio, visual, a video, things like that, and see, okay, what is my audience actually craving? What is the way that they want to connect with me on that deeper level? Cool. And are you guys having some ideas around call to actions? Are there some new ideas happening, or maybe even double checking? Like again, I've been saying, you know, pull up your social media while we're on this call right now. Just take a look at it and be like, does this feel aligned with what Ray's saying? Does this make sense? Is there a step that I need to actually add in? Is there an action step that I need to take? If so, write it down. I really want to make sure that things are getting implemented here. Um, this is the best juice out of, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars of investing in different coaches and working on this and tweaking this and building this out. All right, so number 2, let's dive into the next one, is nurture with consistency. So visibility grows through rhythm, not randomness, right? And Jill, let's see, I see you raising your hand. Do you want to say something? You can go ahead and unmute.
You said earlier that you were gonna go over some Instagram things. So when I liked your account, I immediately got a DM from you. So are you gonna teach us how to do that?
Yeah,
Okay, cool. Perfect.
I gotcha. Absolutely. So let's go into, so we just went over capturing the spotlight. Number two, nurturing with consistency. So this is where that rhythm really does matter. So what Andrew brought to the table at the beginning of the call, it is so important to keep that rhythm going because that actually does build trust and authority. When you are showing up consistently, people can rely on you. It's amazing what that does. It's the same thing that we see with podcast stats. If you start falling off, your listeners start falling off because they're not going to you because they know you're going to be there. They're going to go to someone else that is going to be there all the time. So that's something really important. And I want to talk about also the rhythms for stories. So I've really, for the longest time, there was like maybe a year where all of a sudden all my story views dropped. I don't know if anyone else experienced that or has ever experienced that, but I was like, what happened? This is crazy. Like, no one's seeing my stories anymore. And the tweak that I made was only doing 2 or 3 stories at a time. I really, really do more. And then I make sure that they fully cycle through, they run out, and then re-upload new stories. So has anyone in here not been doing that? I just want to see, maybe put a 2 in the chat if you didn't know that or haven't been doing that. I just kind of want to get a little pulse check. Or put a 1 in the chat if you did know that. Okay, cool. Sometimes, you like learn these hacks and I start to think everyone knows this, right? Everyone found out that this is like the secret sauce. So I'm glad I'm giving you guys some new stuff. Literally, my stories shifted. They went from like when I was saying they dropped, it was like 20 people watching it. And I was like, where'd everyone go? What happened? And they have in doing that consistently, and I'm definitely consistent on my stories. I'm usually sharing what's happening that day or the day prior. I'm pretty much doing at least some story, like basically Monday through Saturday. Um, but in doing that, limiting it to 2 stories and letting it fully cycle out and then reposting it, I'm getting like 300 to 400 people on my stories now. Like it was such a drastic shift. So I'm excited for you guys to try that out and see that for yourselves. Cool. One of the best things to do is just plan whether you're going to be a late night person or an early morning person and get those 2 or 3 stories out at that one time. So that way it can cycle out in 24 hours without it having like, without you posting in the morning and the night, then that cycle, it's just harder for it to finish. So that's how I like to do it each day. I like doing mornings. I get on, I do my stories, then I know, okay, I'm done for today. I'm not going on stories. I'm not consuming stories. I'm not checking them, whatever. And then I circle back in the morning and then I do my new one. So that's a really good rhythm to get into when it comes to your stories on Instagram. Um, and really just building out this type of visibility plan for yourself, right? Like that's kind of the visibility plan I have for myself. And then I'm posting regularly. But you want to figure out what's going to work for you. Yeah, Andrew, what's up?
So Ray, I haven't done stories historically a whole lot myself, and I wanted to get into it.
Mhm.
So like, do you have like a cadence that you go through for certain content pillars, or like story
Mhm.
suggestions, or like anything like that that you follow, or?
No, to be honest, I think people really want just what's happening and what's real. That's where they truly want the behind the scenes. Whenever I start posting more like specific content or to sell or things like that, which I still do, like I'll share, if I'm up to something, but boom, drops the views drop down. So I really feel like the story is a place for people to just keep tabs on each other and be like, what are they doing? What does his or her life look like? So what I would say, things that are good to post on there, and it's good for you and good for other people, are when you're working out. People love to see that you're working out. It's also great to just have that own personal accountability and post that, or to just show like what you're up to that day. So it can be as simple as like, here, I'm working on this, right? It is that documentary sort of perspective that works the best. Stories are only seen by your followers, not new people, correct? Um, y yes. Like, can people, I mean, not, I guess you could actually go to someone's profile and see their story without being a follower. But if it's going to pop up on your page, then you're following them. Hmm. Does that make sense, Jill?
So I thought posts anybody can see if you're public, so I am.
Hmm.
But your
Yeah.
stories, just your followers see. Stories
Um,
don't go to
any,
anyone unless they came to your page and actually watched your stories. But they're not
exactly.
going to show up on their page as stories,
Yeah.
I guess.
Exactly. So that's a really good, visibility versus engagement. This is like becoming more visible with the people that you're already engaged with.
I
Yeah.
didn't
So
realize
not,
because stories for me are way easier because it's random. It's just like, oh, I'm gonna share this. I'm doing this right now, as opposed to posts where
yeah.
I have to think about it, to write all that shit down.
Hmm.
Where stories are just like blah, 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 and it's done. But then
Yes,
told me that it
totally.
only goes to the people that follow you. It doesn't go to anybody new.
Hmm. Exactly. This is where you kind of have to get, you're like, okay, we're lining up our ducks. I got my story. This is what I'm doing there. I got my post. This is what I'm doing on Instagram. This is my post on LinkedIn, right? Like it does become a full marketing strategy. But yeah, so stories, I would just like you're doing it right. It should be fun. It should be easy. It should be playful. Whenever you can, put the captions on it because a lot of times people will watch stories and people are going to be in public, kind of cruising through. They're not going to have their volume up. So just keep that in mind too. Like they're probably not going to be listening to what you're saying. They're going to be reading it. So make sure you always put a caption there if you're saying something that you want them to hear. Otherwise, they're probably just like watching you.
No. Okay.
Right? The little things. Um, let's see, is there anything else when it comes to stories? I think those are really the main things. I'm excited for you guys to play around with that. But yeah, I would think of stories as the real, like that is the live TV behind the scenes. That's what's going on. The posts are, a little bit more documentary style, but they're more mapped out, more planned, more strategic, that type of thing.
Mhm.
So different cadences. So I would love for you guys to just take a moment here while we're all together and write down like what is your cadence? What is your rhythm going to be with this? So you can think of your best rhythm for when you want to do your stories. Again, you want to try and choose the same time of day. So even if I am okay, I'm at the beach in the morning, but then at night I'm at this like cool open mic and I'm like, I want to put this on my story. I'm not gonna put it on my story because I need that story to run out from the morning. So I just record it and then I know, okay, in the morning I'm gonna post that. And so that way it does have that cycle run through. So what is gonna be, write down what your favorite cadence is gonna be, what you want to commit to. Is there a way that you want to be batching out your content, posting that out, scheduling it out? Go ahead and just take a moment to write that down for yourself, have this little commitment ceremony with yourself. Mornings. Yeah. And then it also is really interesting if you are scheduling your post to actually look into the insights of when your audience is most alive. So you can do that and you can see when are people actually like on Instagram mostly. I was pretty amazed. Most of my people were on at like 2, 3 p.m. But then I started thinking, that's when they get tired in their day and they need a dopamine hit. That makes sense. So I haven't looked into that so much to know like that is true for everyone, but I know that was true for me. But to be honest, I was thinking mornings or nights, but that's not true. So check your insights to see where your people are when they're coming on. All right, let's dive into the next piece here. So that was just, we've gone through capturing the spotlight. So that call to action, nurturing with consistency, building up that rhythm because visibility grows through rhythm, not randomness. So establishing that weekly visibility plan. Of course, you can use AI to do this. You can even ask AI, hey, make me a plan here. Um, in fact, I have a prompt that I even forgot to share with you guys. It is create a weekly visibility plan for me with posting frequency, engagement goals, and system reminders for insert your platform of choice, prioritize consistency, automation. Oh, I had faith-based alignment. That was for me. You don't need to put that. You could say alignment in whatever value that you'd like to have in your post. For me, what that means is not posting on Sundays. I'm working on taking that time off, my Sabbath. So if there's something that matters to you in terms of like lifestyle alignment, basically is what that part of the prompt means. Um, okay, let's see. Was there anything else I wanted to share on that? Some other like examples in terms of how you can even map out this visibility plan. For instance, you could always say, like, okay, Mondays are for my long form content, Wednesdays are for repurposing short form content, Fridays are for live engagement, doing a Instagram or Facebook live. So that's another way that you can also build up and create a cadence. So that works really well for the posting side of things, kind of similar to what Andrew said. And like, do your stories, always keep those like documentary style. You can create a little cadence like that, but I don't know. For me, that feels intense, feels a little too controlled or like boxed in. I'm like, I kind of want to just flow with whatever's happening for the day. Okay, number three, let's go into convert with intention. So when you've built visibility, now you got to use it to find the opportunities. Opportunities aren't just always going to come to you. It's a blessing when they do. Like, praise God. Okay, I love when I get a phone call and it's like, hey, Ray, do you want to speak on this stage or do whatever? I'm like, yeah. But let's be real, that's not how a business gets built. It goes by you going and grabbing and finding those opportunities. So this all comes into how you're showing up in the follow through, how you're making connections, how you're reaching out. So you want to actually refine that DM strategy. And it's not about just like doing cold DMs. I know we're all like totally sick and tired of people that do that. And you're like, skip, skip, delete, delete. But there's actually a pretty classy way in which you can engage and connect with people. And I want to share with you guys. I wasn't going to do this, but I feel like just going into all my Instagram secrets. Um, I want to share with you guys how I organize my messages. So, who here, give me a one in the chat if you organize your messages inside of Instagram using the folders, or a two in the chat if you have no idea what I'm talking about. Okay. Yeah, let's go. All right. So, if you open up your Instagram, there's going to be in the messages these three little folders. Um, I have primary, request, and general. I don't know if that's what is on everyone's, but those are kind of vague folders, which is why most people are like, huh, I never even pressed on that. Like, what's the difference between a primary versus general? That's kind of weird. So, anyways, I sort of just defined it for myself and I was like, hey, I think I can use this to organize all these messages that are coming through because probably like you guys, I have people that are actually good leads in here, people that I want to do business with. But then I also have like my sister and like my cousin who lives in Ohio and like, people, my girlfriend in Israel, like, people all over the world that they're not going to be clients and I don't want them to be getting categorized as that. So what I decided to do, I said, okay, my primary are my people. These are my inner circle people, this is my family, all of that. And then general are all the people that I want to do business with. So when I'm messaging people, I actually start moving that conversation to either keep them in primary or I move them into general if I want to be following up with them or touching base. the coolest thing about this, I'm all about lifestyle and making sure that we're building businesses that we like and that you enjoy your life with. And I think Instagram can kind of take over because it's like a way to connect, but then you're also doing business and it's like, when is my off time? When is my not off time? When you do this, I can see that like I have messages in my general, which is my business folder. I can see that I have unread messages and that's okay. I'm like, I'm gonna wait till my business time, like in the morning or whenever I have my business work. And then I know, okay, if I'm in business mode, I'm not going to open the primary folder. I'm not going to go start chatting with my bestie about her last date and how that went, right? So it's a really great way to just organize and structure your time. Um, and yes, Andrew, I would love for you to show me how to share my phone on Zoom because I've definitely done this like blurred version multiple times. And that's hilarious because I'm like, I hope you guys know what I'm talking about. So yes, Andrew, thank you. So yeah, any questions on that? It's pretty simple. It's something that most people don't do, but can make a world of a difference. And of course, we're going to wrap up this part of the training with one AI prompt that I love, which is just give me three creative first liners to send to someone that just added me on Instagram. And this is just a way to get playful, right? Like, not to be weird, not to be sleazy, just to see, like, how can I engage people? Okay, lastly, Jill, I'm sharing my secrets, spilling all my beans here. ManyChat is a way to message people automatically on Instagram. And just, I want to say maybe a week ago, maybe even 4 days ago this week, they just opened a feature where you can automatically message someone that follows you. So, pretty cool. So, I don't need to do anything. It just messages that person and connects, and then I can take it over from there. So that's a really fun little hack. All right. So that is the training for today. I told you it was pretty short and sweet, but super powerful. Do you guys see how much value there is here and all the ways that you can really be utilizing your online presence? Are you seeing how maybe there is a little bit of gap? Like I like to say sometimes it feels like when we're either creating a podcast for one of our clients or even just helping them refine their online marketing strategy, sometimes it feels like they're driving a golf cart, but they actually have a Lamborghini, right? It's like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize we could do all this. I didn't realize I could, have this type of impact and actually create income by using this. So, um, give me a boom in the chat, many chat, many chat here. Give me a boom in the chat if you are feeling the value, you're stoked that you did this challenge. Boom. So I would love to just hear what was the biggest takeaway from today? Go ahead and just jump off mute. Biggest takeaway from today.
Well, definitely being consistent. I know that, but it's so easy to fall off.
Mhm.
So easy to fall off. And then once you're
Yeah,
off, like takes a while to get back on the train, right?
totally.
Yeah. So no, I'm back on. So I'm just gonna have to. I've never been one to really do a bunch of like what do you call them? Batch posts.
hmm
So I need to start doing that. So do you
hmm
just have one day that you do it all?
Well, to be honest, because I'm just spilling all my beans here, I am not actually the one posting on my own Instagram. So that's a whole other conversation. That gets me into a deep, fun AI conversation. But there's amazing ways that you can set that up. But what I would say is before I was able to set that up and get it into a place where it's able to do that and still feel consistent, still feel totally authentically me. Like it's up to date. It's what's actually happening. It's just that I'm not the one doing it anymore. To get to that point, I needed to have the system and to be in the consistent place to be able to even step into that conversation of how do I now, how do I delegate this? How do I give this task away to someone else and to and find the right technology to help me do that. So I don't want to go down that whole rabbit hole, but it takes you really defining what can I do here, and then you can move it out from there. And I say that too because I've coached a lot of people in this space and specifically working on this. And if they delegate it too out too quickly, it loses their voice. They don't like it. They start getting pissed off because not only whoever they hired, but also AI, like all of it, everyone's getting it wrong. And then they just start taking it over. And then they're right back at the beginning where they were like a few months ago doing the same thing. And then they stop posting. And then it takes about 6 months for them to remember all the stuff that I told them. Then they come back to me and they say, okay, let's do it your way. So that's the truth of it. Um, yeah. All
Yes.
of this, it's like I wanted to give you guys the best stuff that I knew would like really create an ROI. And this is still like, I don't know, 20% of the stuff that we coach on and share on. So just know that there's quite a fun rabbit hole to go down in this. Um, and that's what I'm open to, opening up a conversation with anyone that is on here. We're going to open up 5 spots for people that are inside of this visibility challenge to do a one-on-one call with me. So I think this is the perfect time to do it. So just put me in the chat if you want to take one of those spots. If you're watching the replay, you can reach out and see if there are any of those spots left. But this will just be a 30-minute strategy session where we can look at what we talked about here and see how else can we implement this and give you more support around it. All right, so Anna, 4 spots left. There's 4 spots left. I feel like an announcer. 4 spots left, everyone. 4 spots left. Okay, 3 spots left. We only got 3 spots. So go ahead, Anna and Jill. Just send me in the chat your best email, and we'll make sure that we have the right one on file for you guys, and then we'll set that up. All right. So, any other last? I want to do one more. What was your biggest value point, biggest win from today's call, from being on here? Biggest value, if you want to just come off mute and share. And I'm calling you out, girlfriend. Can you come off mute?
Okay. Where I'm like in between of my exams also, and I'm like, okay, I want to listen this too, and I'm like on a deadline. But yeah, thank you so much. No, I really love the whole like strategy sessions and all this like prompts, and it just like as Jill said, like all about consistency, and this is the the most difficult part, and then like organizing all like messages and in general like organizational part of it, because you don't read social media like your business until you do, right? So then
Mhm.
you have to something like that.
Yes, totally. And I know that when we met, we talked about that too.
Yes,
So yeah,
yes,
I'm so
yes, we
glad you're able
did.
to jump in here.
Thank you, so nice to see you again.
You too. You too. I'm like seeing your beautiful photo. I love it.
Sorry,
Aw-
thank you.
Awesome, you guys. So let's review what happened on day 3 challenge. So I want you to make sure that you add or update your call to action. You build out your weekly visibility plan, and you can use AI if you want. And then share that with us. Share on the school platform, we have that win post. Oh, I should pull it up for you guys. We have our wins post, and I would love to just hear again, like, what are the wins? I think it's really cool to see screenshots of before and after, to see what has shifted in your social media. Also, any wins around growth, around connection. We would love to hear about those. So here is the post that we have for the wins for this challenge. There you go. Awesome, awesome. And if you love this challenge, put a one in the chat. Um, it would be awesome. We're sort of, we just started our school community, so we're seeing, what kind of style everyone likes. If you guys like these challenges, or you like, different ways of connecting and getting support inside of school community. So if you guys did put a one in the chat, if you'd be open to just recording a quick 60-minute video, just sharing the value that you got out of this 3-day training, or the before and after of a session that you attended, that would be so appreciated. You can just go ahead and put that in the wins channel as well on our school. And we'll go ahead and wrap up there. And let's see. Oh, I did have one more little AI prompt for you guys. I always like to end with a little cherry on top. So here's one last one. Based on my current content and audience, design a 90-day AI-powered visibility roadmap that helps me grow my reach, engagement, and conversions in alignment with my values. So a little similar to the last one, but play around with those, have so much fun. And yeah, I just encourage you guys to share a short story, a short video, even. If you want, you can, of course, post it in school community, but you can also post it on your social media. Let us be a part of your behind the scenes of this week and what's been happening. Make sure to tag me. You can tag Evolve Podcasting. You can tag Sammy's profile as well. And we'll be getting those calls scheduled out. So that is all for today. Thank you so much for playing along with me, and I'll see you guys later. Have a good one.